Okay, so good afternoon, guys. Since time is looking like we're not going to be able to meet again, so I'm just going to go ahead and make this video and send it to so. Today we're going to be talking about Power Query, right? And Power Query is just we're done with Excel, right? And Power Query is just the cleaning part of the advanced cleaning part of Excel, right? So with Power Query, we're able to manipulate our data, and basically, when we say manipulate our data and clean our data, when we talk about those things, manipulation and cleaning, we're simply talking about the fact that we want to arrange our data, we want to make our data look presentable. It can be something as simple as deleting unnecessary column. Let's say I want to test for let's say I want to check sales by a supermarket, right? Now, what are the things that are important to me if I'm checking sales? I want to see their sales record. I want to see how much they sell each item they have, right? Now, something that is irrelevant in that case is their customer age. When I'm focusing on the sales of the restaurant or the supermarket, right? The age of the customers purchasing the data is purchasing the making the purchase rather is irrelevant, right? So in that kind of situation, if I said let me delete the customer age column, that would also count as cleaning. Cleaning is very simple. It can also be something as simple as renaming your columns to the appropriate names, right? So instead of column 1, you put total sales. That's cleaning. You've done cleaning, right? It could also be removing errors, right? Deleting null values from your tables, right? Deleting rows, deleting columns. Basically, just making your data presentable. So I have three. I have some documents here, right? And I'm going to work on the employee list in this video. So I'm going to be preparing the employee list into, I'm going to be transforming it into a usable table, right? So I want you guys to focus on that. Now with Power Query, Power Query helps us, is more advanced than Excel in the term that, or in the way that it allows us bringing data from other sources. So with Excel, right, once we are working on a document in Excel, it has to be a Excel file, right? For example, it has to be .xlsx, like these ones that we can see. You see the type is Microsoft Excel worksheet. The type is Microsoft Excel worksheet. But if I check this one, you see that is a text document. Ordinarily, I should not be able to access this in Excel, but with Power Query, I'm able to bring data from different file types into Excel. So you can also bring your Power Pivot. Sorry, I said your Power Pivot. You can also bring your PDF files, right? If you have a PDF document that has data that you're interested in working, you can bring it into Excel using the Power Query editor, right? So let me go ahead, and I want you to open a new Excel worksheet. So a new worksheet, right? And then you can name it anything you like. I'm going to leave my name as new Microsoft Excel. So when you open it, now if you go to data, your data tab, and then you select get data, now you can see all the file types I can import with Excel. I can bring it from a file. Sometimes, you know what the file is? The file is something that is on my local hard drive, is on my computer, like my Excel workbooks, like that employee list. Those are files that are on my system. So I could also get information from a database, any of these databases you can see here. Then I can import from Azure. I can get from online services too, right? SharePoint, Exchange Online, Dynamics 360. Then I can get from other sources. I can get from a table arranged inside Excel, right? I can get from a web, import data from a web page. So if you have a maybe Wikipedia, right, that has a document on it, that has a table that you're interested in working on, you can get from web, and then when it loads, it will ask you for the URL. All right, so all I have to do is just paste the URL of a website that has tables in it, and I'll be able to extract the table, right? So in this case, we're going to be using from file, because what we want to bring is a file, and it is a text file. If you look at what I want to do, I said we're bringing in the we're bringing in the sorry. All right, I'm bringing in the employee list, and you can see that the text document. You can see it here. So I want to bring a file that is a text or CSV, so a text file. So now I navigate to where it is on my system. Should be in PQ here. So if I select this, double click or click and say import, now it loads a preview. Ordinarily, I wouldn't be able to access these documents. So when we want to load data into Power Query Editor, after you get here, you make sure to click transform data, right? So like I said, you want to manipulate your data. So you want to transform your data, you want to clean it. In this case now, I can see certain things. If you see our column headers, they are not named properly. Column 1, column 2, column 3, and all of that. So I will be showing you how to manipulate. Please just follow the video. So transform data now. So now this is my Power Query Editor. Right? This is my Power Query Editor, and it contains all details I'm looking at. So now, if you look at this, you can see, like I said, my tables are not, my columns are not named properly, and then there's no data in columns 3 or in rows 3 and 4. All right, so there's no data in rows 3 and 4. So I'm going to be deleting. Okay, there's first and last here, and then there's birth here. There's also pay rates, right? But I'm going to be deleting the first 4 rows so I can bring this number 5 where my actual headers are. So I would simply come to my home tab in my Power Query Editor, say remove rows, then remove top rows. So I'm removing top rows. So it's asking me what the number of rows I want to remove. I want to remove 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm still going to come back and edit all these 4. The data in row 4 that I'm removing. First, last, then birth and pay rates, like I already previously said. So I'm removing 4 rows from the top, and I say okay. Right, I've been able to remove that. Now the next thing I will do is to say I want my first row to be headers, right? Because you can see that that's where the headers are. So in my home tab again, I simply say use first row as headers. So immediately I click it, you can see that my first row has been loaded into headers. Now I need to write it correctly: the first name, the last name, the birth date, and the pay rate. Right? So in row 3, if you take the video back, or row 4 rather, there was first name here, so I'm going to make that first name, right? So all you have to do when you want to rename a column is just double click on the column header 1, 2, right? Or you right click on it and you say rename, right? So rename, same thing. So last name, right? Then I will scroll, and birth date. Please rewind the video if you don't know what I'm talking about. Birth date, right? Then pay rates. So what I've done so far is cleaning the data, right? But there's still more to go. There's still a few more things to do. This is an example of for us to understand what Power Query looks like, right? So in this case, now I want to remove these columns. They are not important to me. I've deemed that they are not important. I'm making an example, right? I could have deleted the department column also, but I'm just selecting this ones because they are true and false value. It's just random. So I can delete these columns. All I do, if I want to highlight all 3, I select one, hold my control button, select the next one from the headers, please, not the rows, then select the third one, right? And then I can either say delete on my keyboard. At the top right of your keyboard, you see the delete key, or I can right click on any of their headers now and say remove columns, right? So if I say remove columns, those columns are gone from my table, right? So now I want you to watch something. Okay, so I want to make a column. I want to make a monthly pay column. So monthly pay is simply my weekly pay times 4, right? The amount they get per week, if I multiply by 4, I'll get the pay column. So to do that in the Power Query editor, you click on your add column, right? Because we want to create a new column that will now be monthly pay. So add column, there are different types of columns here, different ways to create columns. If you want to duplicate a column, it will make another weekly pay column. Index column, it will add a numbers column, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But in this case, it will start at 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and up like that. Then conditional column, if I want to create a column based on another column. So if this column is saying A, then give them 100. If this column is saying B, then give them 50. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, like we did in Excel. So if you want to create a conditional column in Power Query Editor, you come to your add column and you select conditional column. So in this case now, we want to create a custom column. A custom column is simply a column where you created, right, by formulas. Formulas are custom. The formula I'm using for this equation is not the formula I will use for another equation, right? So the custom column is the one I will use. So I'm going to name it here monthly pay. And then the formula will be weekly pay. So for me to get the column and use it in an example, I can either type it, right, weekly. Immediately I start typing, you see it here, and I can press tab. But the easiest and surest way would be to come here to this side, the available columns, right? So I scroll down. So weekly pay is what I'm interested in. I select it, right? I just tap on it or click on it, and then I say insert. So you see that it also comes in. Then I can now say multiplied by 4, and you can see no syntax errors detected. So if I say OK now, a column has been added. That is the monthly pay column. Now if you remember when we started Excel, I said Excel accepts 4 data types, recognizes 4 data types, right? Your values, your text, your formulas, and your dates, right? So it's the same way for data generally. So in this case now, these are numbers. I need to make this column type numbers, right? I'm telling Power Query that this is the type of values that are inside my column. The reason for that is so that I can use the column appropriately. For example, if I have a text column and I say this column times 4, it won't give me an error because you cannot do arithmetic with text, right? I can't write Samuel and say Samuel times 4. Excel will give me an error because it is not an integer type. So that is the importance of specifying the column types or the data types in your columns. So to do that in your Power Query editor, you simply come to the column you're interested in adjusting, right? And then you can see this button by the side, ABC 1, 2, 3. That is what is in this column now. If you look at the weekly pay, it's a currency format, right? As it's supposed to be. So I need to make this one currency too. So all I do is click on this ABC 1, 2, 3 here and say I want a currency, right? So change it to currency and we're good, right? So now that is that. We're done with that monthly pay. Then I also want to I want to create a full name column. I want to join this first name and this last name inside the same column, right? So when I'm joining my first name and last name, I'm going to be joining them with space because I want it to be space. In this case, Clem space Jones, right? So I click on my first column first. Remember when we were doing concatenate, the way you type the formula is the way it appears. So when it comes to Power Query, selecting your columns, the way you select your columns is the way it appears. So if I want my column, my first name to appear first, I will select my column first name first, hold my control and select my last name. That is saying join the last name to my first name, right? Then I will go to my transform tab, and then I will scroll to merge columns. So I want to join these two columns together. So when I click on merge columns, my separator is space, like I previously said. So I must change this to space, right? And then the name, I'm going to say full name column, full name, right? And then I say okay, right? And you can see Clem Jones, Clarissa Stanley, and it has added the space. Now if I clicked on last name first and I clicked on first name last, right, it would be Jones space Clem, Stanley space Clarissa. So what I'm trying to say is you have to be conscious of how you click your columns in this kind of situation, of how you highlight your columns. So now I've highlighted that and I've created all of that, right? So since this is just an example, I'm going to be ending this video here, right? Because I'm done with my data. What I've done is just cleaning. This is an introduction to cleaning data with Power Query. So now I can close this data and load it into Excel as a table, right? Ordinarily, remember, it was a text file, it is not an Excel file. Let me open it for you. Okay, let me open it. All right, so if I try and open this, it's not going to open in Excel. See what is opening, right? But now with Power Query Editor, my Power Query Editor, I can now say, I go to my home tab and I say close and load. So what close and load does is it loads my data, this thing that I've adjusted, into Excel. So if I select close and load, watch what happens, right? And then if you look at it, it's exactly what I've done. So full name, right? Monthly pay. Then you remember I deleted the dental, vision, and all of those, right? So now I have this data in Excel, and if I need it in Excel, if I want to do calculations on it or anything of the sort, I'm able to actually now do it. If I want to also create a dashboard or make a presentation, I'm able to do it, even though the original document was in a text file. So please make sure you rewatch the video, rewind the video, pause, play anytime, so you can get every part of the video. So I'm going to be ending the video now. All right, so bye guys.